My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to give you my favorite PrizePicks entry for UFC Vegas 75. If you don't know what PrizePicks is, it's daily fantasy. You just say more or less than the numbers you see on the screen, and if you're right, you can 10 times your money, and they will pay you to play this. They will give you an instant deposit match. If you sign up, you give them 20 bucks, they'll give you 20. You give them 100, they'll give you 100. Get the free money. Play now. All you need to do is go to wewantpicks.com/prizepicks. Use promo code WWP and you will get that instant deposit match. So if you win, you have even more free money. If you lose, well, you lost their free money. It is instant. There are no strings attached. wewantpicks.com/prizepicks. You sign up. You make your deposit. They will match your deposit amount and you can go ahead and build yourself an entry. Let's jump right in. I'm going to go ahead and show you my entry. You're going to see a lot of gloves here, a couple fighter pictures missing. That's because PrizePicks, not only does it do all the sports you see at the top, baseball, golf, football, every sport you could think of, including video games. I don't even know how that works. But anyway, it also has more than one MMA league. It's not just UFC. They have PFL in here with PFL lines as well. We're not going to touch the PFL. We're just going to go ahead and talk about the UFC event. We have fight minutes, takedowns, fantasy score, and significant strikes. Let's look at fight minutes. What I like to do here is I'm always looking for ones that seem way too high. And there's not much here that's too high, right? Alessandro Costa, 8.5 minutes. I mean, he could beat Jimmy Flick in 30 seconds. It could go to decision. I'm not going to touch that. Same with Manuel Torres and Nicolas Mata. I actually think the over 1.5 makes sense, and 1.5 is more than 6.5 minutes. But we're going to go ahead and leave this alone. Both these guys have a ton of finishes, have a ton of power. That's a hard one. Arman Tsarukyan, we're going to add the over here. I didn't play that originally, but I am going to add the over here. 6.5 minutes. Joaquim Silva could potentially survive. He's got jiu-jitsu. He's got power. He could potentially survive a little longer than a round. And the good news is we're going to do the flexible payout option. So if it misses, no big deal, right? We're good. So we'll go ahead and add that to our slate. Then we have takedowns. There's a couple in here that I like. We're going to go to the bottom again for UFC. Teresa Bleda, 2 takedowns. I like the more here. She's a very good grappler. She's fighting a phenomenal striker. Logic will tell you she needs to shoot takedowns. And you may say, well, she could submit her opponent. And of course that could happen. It's a fist fight. But the reality is her opponent is also a very good jiu-jitsu fighter as well. So I think Teresa Bleda is going to need more than 2 takedowns to get this done. In all likelihood, I do think it goes to a decision. So we're going to do more than 2 takedowns. Zhalgas Zhumagulov, that fight is canceled, which is very, very annoying. Arman Tsarukyan. I think he's going to get more than 1.5 takedowns, but we can't use him twice. We can't use his more than fight minutes and more than takedowns. I like both of these. I already have an entry with the takedown, so I'm going to remove this, but I'll show you that in a second. And then we are going to go to fantasy score. Again, we'll scroll down to the bottom. And what I like to do with fantasy scores, I like to find ones that are too high. For me, it's easier to find somebody where they juice the favorite, and I don't think that's going to happen. And the only one here that really made a lot of sense, first of all, I do think Ronnie Lawrence loses this fight, but if he wins, he's going to score a ton of points because of all those takedowns. So the only one that I really liked the under on was Pat Sabatini. And what's interesting is this line has moved. I got him at 91.5 fantasy points. He is now at 89.5. That has gone down. That's not a ton of points. It could be the difference between winning or losing. It's not a ton of points. I'm still going to hit this at 89.5, the less. But if you were a premium member, you would have seen the 91.5, and that's a couple of strike differences. I mean, there's enough wiggle room there where, it could potentially ruin somebody's slate. But we'll go ahead and add that. Arman Tsarukyan's is juiced as well, but he should win by finish. Marvin Vettori has 5 rounds to work in takedowns. So the rest of those are solid numbers that are hard to deal with. And then we have significant strikes. Significant strikes, again, I look for ones that are really high or really low. Or I like to find lines where, hey, this fighter has hit that every single time. And these are all very solid lines. Hani Barcelos' fight is canceled, so he's off the slate. Pat Sabatini could be WrestleFest. Arman Tsarukyan could throw 3 significant strikes, right? This one is probably high, to be honest with you. So if you want to consider adding that in one of your entries, you could do that. Marvin Vettori, I went through his slate. He has 5-round fights or 3-round fights well over 100. 5-round fights. When he beat Kevin Holland, he landed like 50. So another tricky number. So we're going to leave this alone. We're going to do the flex play. If I get all 3 correct, I'm going to 2.25 times my money. If I get 2 correct, I'm going to 1.25 times my money. You could do a power play. You could 5x your money, but I had a couple dicey ones in here. We'll just throw $10 at it just for the sake of it. And let me go ahead and show you my entry from earlier. I did $20. And guys, I do this every single week. You want to throw 100, you do 100. Every week I do it. I throw 20, $50 depending on the week. And it's really just all in good fun. But you can see here that Pat Sabatini fantasy score 91.5. It is now a lower line than that. So if you were a premium member at WeWantPicks.com, you got the lower line, and that could be the difference between winning or losing. But here are the entries. Arman Sarukian, more than 6.5 fight minutes. Teresa Bleda, more than 2 takedowns. Pat Sabatini, less than 89.5 fantasy points. Teresa Bleda, 2 takedowns as well. And then Arman Sarukian, more. Pat Sabatini, less, but a higher fantasy score. Those are my 2 entries. Build your own entries. But the first thing you need to do is get your very free money. Just go to WeWantPicks.com/PrizePicks. Promo code WWP. You get the free money. Build yourself an entry. And let's go ahead and win these.